Good evening. This is a special Village Board of Trustees meeting, April 14th, 2020. It is now 3 minutes after 7. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance, to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and let us remain standing as we think about our soldiers serving our country. All right, thank you. Okay, the upcoming meeting, the workshop meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. is canceled. A regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees will be held on Monday, May 4th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Ed Markunas. This continuation of a public hearing on the 2020-2021 tentative budget via teleconference is being held pursuant to Executive Order 202.15 issued by Governor Andrew Cuomo on April 9th, 2020. Executive Order 202.15 was issued to provide for health and safety of the public during COVID-19 emergency. This executive order, among other things, suspends Article 7 of the Public Offices Law and permits any public body to hold public hearings remotely through the use of telephone conference, video conference, and/or other similar service. An audio recording of this teleconference will be posted on the Village of Suffern website. This public hearing was properly noticed and included instructions to the public that public comment may be offered by sending an email to budget@suffernny.gov. I ask the village clerk, Ms. Amy Paffenroth, to call the roll.
Trustees, please say present when your name is called. Trustee Alpert?
Present.
Trustee Girard?
Present.
Trustee Barone?
Present.
Trustee Corrigan?
Present.
Also on this teleconference is Village Treasurer Michael Janito.
I ask the board to please join me. We said the Pledge of Allegiance. Regarding our upcoming meeting, due to the COVID-19 health emergency, the workshop meeting scheduled for Tuesday, April 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. will be canceled. The next regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees will be held on Monday, May 4th, 2020 at 7 p.m. I have a resolution authorizing a public hearing to be held April 23rd, 2020 at 7:10 p.m. to consider the 2020-2021 sewer and water rates. Do I have the resolution? Authorizing a public hearing to be held April 23rd, 2020 to consider the 2020-2021 sewer and water rates. Resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes holding a public hearing on April 23rd, 2020 to be held at 7:10 p.m. to consider the 2020-2021 sewer and water rates. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Corrigan.
Trustee Corrigan.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Trustee Alpert, second.
Trustee Alpert. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I have a resolution authorizing a public hearing to be held April 23rd, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. to consider a property tax levy in excess of the limits established in General Municipal Law 3C. Resolution authorizing a public hearing to be held April 23rd, 2020 to consider a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C. Resolved, the Board of Trustees authorizes holding a public hearing on April 23rd, 2020 to be held at 7:15 to consider a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Meagan-Corrigan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone. Please say aye or nay to a vote on the open public hearing as I call it your name. Trustee Alpert.
Aye.
Trustee Girard.
Aye.
Trustee Barone.
Yes.
Trustee Meagan-Corrigan.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next reso. I have a resolution amending the 2019-2020 budget for Police Department grant. I have the resolution amending 2019-2020 budget for Police Department grant. Whereas the Village of Suffern Chief of Police had advised that an upgrade to certain computer equipment is required by the state of New York, and whereas the estimated cost of the upgrade is $20,500, and whereas the New York State Division of Criminal Justice has awarded a grant in the amount of $10,000 for the purchase of the aforesaid upgrade, and whereas the remaining required funds of $10,500 for the purchase of the aforesaid equipment are available in the general fund police contractual object of expenditure. Now therefore be it resolved that the village board authorizes the village treasurer to amend the 2019-2020 general fund adopted budget by increasing estimated revenues, public safety state aid, and increasing police contractual expenditures, each in the amount of $10,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Meagan-Corrigan.
Trustee Meagan-Corrigan. Do I have a second?
Second, Alpert.
Trustee
I have a
Alpert.
But I have a question. I do have a question. So the
Okay, can we just call the discussion?
discussion. Oh, never mind. I misread. Never mind. Go ahead. I wanted to double check.
Any further discussion on this resolution? Okay, trustees, please say yay or nay to the vote. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Anyone abstain? No. Motion passes. Okay, it is now 7:12. I would like to open up the 7:05 continuation of the public hearing to consider the 2020-2021 tentative budget. Do I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing?
Motion, Trustee Barone.
Motion, Trustee Barone.
Second,
Do I have a second? Trustee Girard. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carried. The continuation of the public hearing on the 2020-21 tentative budget is now open. This tentative budget covers fiscal year beginning June 1, 2020 and ending May 31, 2021, and includes all of the major operating funds of the Village of Suffern: the general fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, and the debt service fund. The general fund includes all revenues and expenditures that are not required by law or policy to be included in another fund. The water fund includes the revenues and expenditures associated with the operation and maintenance of our water treatment plant and distribution. And the sewer fund includes the revenues and expenditures associated with the operation and maintenance of our wastewater treatment plant and collection system. The debt service fund includes the revenue and expenditures related to the repayment of our long-term serial bonds. The major revenue source of the general fund is the real property taxes levied by the village. The major source of revenue for the water fund and sewer fund are the water and sewer rates charged to customers using village-supplied water. The debt service fund revenues are transferred in from each of the other funds to support the payment or principal and interest on long-term debt issued for each of those funds. The tentative budget document also includes a variety of schedules related to salaries and wages, short and long-term debt repayment, and proposed capital projects. The tentative budget called for an 8.3% increase in village property taxes. This figure has now been revised to 6.2% with the changes presented by department heads and trustees. This increase reflects increases in expenditures, predominantly wage and benefit increases in accordance with union contracts, and an almost 1% decrease in assessed evaluation. If the tentative budget is adopted unchanged, the village taxes on the average single home would increase $295 per year. The budget and rates for the water fund will remain relatively unchanged in the forthcoming year. The budget for sewer fund will result in a slight increase of approximately $26 per year for the median village household. I personally met with department heads to review their budget request, and we did make some downward adjustments to their original request. However, 75% of the village budget is associated with salaries and benefits covered by union contracts. Likewise, the reduction in assessed values is a result of successful challenges brought by homeowners against their property assessment. As such, it is difficult to find additional and significant reductions to the real property tax rate, especially when you consider that it takes approximately $124,000 in additional revenues and/or reduced expenditures, or more than $1.3 million in increased assessed valuations to move the tax rate down by 1%. I will now read into the record the comments or questions received on the tentative budget. Tentative budget comments. 1, Ms. Elizabeth Listwan offered several comments and questions to the trustees. The village residents have been hearing and seeing the trustees' childish behavior for months now. You continually refuse to adhere to the judge's decision. You keep saying the judge didn't say your action was illegal. So what were the exact words of the judge's orders that make you say that? Please read aloud to all of us. So to answer Ms. Listwain's question, a judge then declared that on December 2nd, 2019, a motion adopted by the Village Board of Trustees contracting with respondent defendant Terry Rice Esquire as attorney for the village for a period January 1, 2020 to December 31, 2020 on the same terms and contract with Keenan Bean, TC, for the period of February 4, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 was unauthorized, and it is further adjudged and declared that the December 2nd, 2019 motion violated New York Village Law 400(1)(ci). So that is the direct quote to answer Ms. Listwain. And Ms. Corrigan, you continue to say move forward until this is settled. There is no going forward. All of you have caused this village an untold amount of damage, both financially and trustability. And if K and B doesn't accept the mayor's new proposal, there will be more financial liability caused by you. You say you care about Suffern. If you truly did, you wouldn't be acting like 3 years old. I will reiterate what I stated in my previous email. Relinquish your salaries for the remainder of your term so that they can be applied to the legal bill all of you incurred for the village. And I will go one step further and echo the sentiments of other residents at previous meetings. You all need to resign. You have lost all credibility. Enough is enough. Ms. Listwain offered a link to an opinion editorial that appeared in the New York Post on March 20th, 2020, entitled "Why New York Needs to Freeze Pay Now for All Government Workers." Ms. Listwain commented, as far as the budget itself is concerned, this article just came out in the New York Post. If this is passed, I think it is something that can and should be implemented for the village. Although I am sure this will upset many employees, I think it would be good for the greater good, which is what is needed during this crisis. I think this should be given serious consideration if it is endorsed by the governor. Ms. Listwain asks, the village clerk and superintendent of public works are non-union administrative employees. If those positions are not getting COLA raises, why the increase in their salaries? Ms. Listwain asks, there are 3 positions getting raises of $5,000 or more. The assistant court clerk, the senior account clerk, and the recreation program assistant. What is the cause of those raises? Okay, we'll continue with that. Ms. Listwain asks, what village employees are not in the bargaining unit? Ms. Listwain offered 4 items to the village board's consideration. In light of the extreme situation that we are in, with people unemployed and local businesses closed, what steps will the village be taking to lessen the tax burden on residents and business owners? B, why have the following positions been added to this year's budget? Records person part-time, auto mechanic 1, mechanical equipment operator 1. C, many salaries have not increased. However, quite a few have increased dramatically. Other than contractual obligations, how are you justifying some of these salary increases? D, I think it's only fair that the 4 trustees relinquish their salaries of $38,250 in total to go towards the legal costs that were incurred to the village through their illegal action. Trustee Paul Girard has requested that the following be read into the record in response to Ms. Liswane's comments. Any increases to non-union administrative employees should be removed from the tentative budget. Once the entire board is satisfied with the progress we make in reducing expenses, we can consider if there is room for increases for any of these positions. Trustee Girard then asks that we list the non-union administrative positions showing the pay increases that are included in the 2020-2021 tentative budget, and they are as follows. Village Justice, no increase. Village Associate Justice, no increase. Justice Court Clerk, no increase. Village Clerk, step increase. Village Deputy Clerk, no increase. Village Treasurer, no increase. Superintendent of Public Works, longevity increase. Recreation Coordinator, no increase. The following response is offered by the Treasurer to Ms. Liswane's comments. The Village Treasurer has advised that it is important for the Village Board and the public to know that in the current fiscal year, 2019-2020, the CSE contract was settled and CSEA employees received not only a 4.01% cumulative cost of living increase, in addition to any step or longevity increases, but also received a one-time payment equal to 1.5% of gross 2017-2018, plus a one-time payment equal to 1.5% of gross 2018-2019 pay, while to date, the non-union administrative employees supervising CSEA employees received no cost of living or a one-time payment over the past 4 years. To be clear, some non-union administrative employees did not receive increases due to promotions or step or longevity increases in accordance with the Village of Suffern work rules adopted by previous village boards. The increase to the village clerk is a step increase in accordance with Village of Suffern work rules for non-union full-time employees. The increase to the Superintendent of Public Works is a longevity increase in accordance with those same work rules. The work rules were adopted by previous village boards and are still in effect. The increase to Assistant Court Clerk and Senior Account Clerk are contractual step increases per the CSEA contract. The adopted 2019-2020 current year budget provided for a Recreation Information Clerk, and during the current year, that individual was promoted from Recreation Information Clerk to a higher level position of Recreation Program Assistant. The following village positions are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement: the village clerk, the deputy village clerk, the assistant village attorney, the village justice, the associate village justice, justice court clerk, the village treasurer, superintendent of public works, and the recreation coordinator. Those are answers to Ms. Liswane. 2, Mr. Thomas Capone. Mr. Thomas Capone commented, as a resident of Suffern for over 50 years, I have never seen a Board of Trustees act in total disregard of the law. They knew it was illegal to try to hire a village attorney and their illegal actions has cost the village $80,000. I request that the board members forfeit their salary as a way to reimburse the village for their criminal actions. 3, Mr. Frank Hagan. Mr. Frank Hagan commented after re-listening to April 6th, 2020 Suffern board meeting on budget, I wish an answer to why did the trustees desire to pay Terry Rice and not Keenan Bean. It is my understanding that the agreement with Terry Rice was illegal and agreement with Keenan Bean was legal. Is this an example of how the board will continue to run the village? Frank Hagan also commented, first, trustee Barone, Corrigan, and Girard should forfeit their salaries to pay for illegal appointment of attorney. These 4 cost Suffern taxpayers over $80,000 for their blunder. Second, when this budget is complete, trustee Girard, Barone, and Corrigan should be sent a bill to pay for the above debt so as to not charge residents for their arrogance. Third, the 4 trustees, in my opinion, who do not worry about the village, yet just worry about their personal agenda, should be replaced. Fourth, on January 28, 2020, the decision and order declared only the mayor has the authority to appoint the village attorney pursuant to New York Village Law 4400, 1C1. The motion adopted by village trustees for Terry Rice Esquire was unauthorized, and December 2nd, 2019 motion by village trustees violated New York Law 4400, 1C1, and is stopped from enforcing. Terry Rice Esquire is not the village attorney, and the village trustees can take no further action on this matter. The same aforementioned decision ordered and the judge the retainer agreement between the village and Keenan Bean PC be extended until the entry this judgment and order. And village treasurer authorized to make payment to Keenan Bean PC for its legal services as village attorney through entry of judgment and order. This constitutes an order and judgment of the court, the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Rockland. Public document signed and dated 16 March 2020 by Honorable Paul I. Marks. Provided a clear, detailed legal rendering regarding the illegal action of the trustees. 3 trustees of the Village of Suffern contracted with Terry Rice Esquire as attorney for the village for a period 1 January 2020 to 31 December 2020 on same terms as Keenan Bean PC for the period for February 2019 to 31 December 2019. Thus, their proposal therefore not only failed to save the Village of Suffern any money, but rather their action cost taxpayers and associated legal fees more than what the village would have paid had Keenan Bean, if they had provided general counsel for the village for the entire 2020 calendar year. Continues. Why, on April 6, 2020, did village trustees Paul Girard, in the midst of COVID pandemic, push through a motion and vote to pay Terry Rice Esquire for legal fees to defend the trustees in their illegal actions when Terry Rice was not the village attorney? And why did they not authorize to pay the attorney fees for Keenan Bean, PC, who successfully defended the rights of the mayor and the village residents against the illegal actions of the board? How much has the village trustees cost the taxpayers of our village, and how much will they keep costing the taxpayers for not executing their responsibilities? What effect has their behavior had on our 2020-2021 budget? What are these trustees going to do about this? 4, Ed and Mary Ellen Kerner commented. Several weeks ago, I attended a public meeting where it was brought up that the Village Board of Trustees was found to have broken the law. During that meeting, it was specifically mentioned that Rockland County Supreme Court Judge Marks found that the Board of Trustees violated New York state law. It was brought up that the Board of Trustees was advised by 3 attorneys that they should not proceed with their appointment, but to no avail. Now, the village faces astronomical attorney's fees due to the mayor having to defend the village and the law. I asked at the meeting what were the consequences of the village board of trustees violating the law. There were no answers. Crickets. I am proposing that the village board forfeit their salaries to offset the legal fees. I feel that there must be a consequence for violating the law. We must get our village financially back on track. I'm sure that we were not budgeted for such payouts. I look forward to seeing what actions will be taken to right this wrong. Mr. Lance Klein, principal member of Keenan Bean, commented, I write concerning outstanding legal fees and potential additional legal fees and damages for conduct committed by certain village trustees. Currently, the village has legal fees outstanding in the amount of $82,125.43. These legal fees are due and owing pursuant to a properly executed retainer agreement. If these fees are not paid, the village will incur additional legal fees of not less than $15,000 to defend against legal action commenced to collect the outstanding legal fees. In addition, the village may have to pay legal fees to the law firm bringing the action to collect the outstanding legal fees. In addition, certain trustees may face legal action for defamatory comments made in public against a law firm. The legal action will incur legal fees to defend against the defamation claims. The trustees and/or the village may be liable for monetary damages. Ms. Gertrude Zimberblatt offers the following comments. Mayor Markunas and Board, I appreciate my previous comments being read into record at your 4/6/2020 public hearing. However, due to the unfortunate format that COVID-19 has imposed upon these meetings, it is difficult to have any kind of give and take between board members and the public. Therefore, please accept this letter as a follow-up to your 4/6 meeting. 1. With regard to my previous comment that trustees in so many neighboring municipalities serve without compensation, and in light of the significant legal expenses our village has incurred as a result of trustees' illegal actions, I'd like to reiterate my suggestions that trustees' salaries be waived for one term. Please note that this simple act would return $38,250 to the village coffers in just 1 year's time. $76,500 over the length of your term, roughly 40% of the 80% respectively of the actual monies that your actions cost the taxpayers. Could each of the trustees please respond as to how you see this recommendation being implemented? Paul, as you know, on 2/3/2020, I submitted a FOIL request of your records and transactions regarding the village attorney issue. When I inquired about the status of it at the 3/9/20 special meeting, you indicated that you had responded and turned over your materials to the village. I suspect that you may have overlooked the fact that my FOIL requested any and all documents, rather than the select few inconsequential items I received. The response I received from the village on 3/27/20 reads in part as follows. Trustee Girard asserted that he does not have any documentation of the conversation that took place. Yet at the very least, Mr. Rice's 12/2/19 letter to the board reads, "This will confirm our agreement concerning the terms." Paul, as taxpayers, we expect and deserve transparency from you, particularly as you continue to insert your legal advice and that of Mr. Rice's into ongoing village business. My FOIL request is now over 60 days old, and therefore I am requesting of you personally that you turn over all documents in accordance with the FOIL within the next 7 business days by no later than close of business day on 4/21/20. Ms. Zimbalblatt continues. Number 3, please offer specifics on the board's resolution to pay Terry Rice's $12,901.17 bill. As I understand it, the judge's decision stated that the advice given to the trustees by Mr. Rice led to illegal, unauthorized actions. While I understand that no lawyer's representation guarantees a win, I would expect any lawyer's advice to be legal and not in direct violation of New York state law. To me, that's not unlike paying the electrician whose illegal wiring burned down your house. Why would the board approve a controversial invoice without allowing it to be reviewed by an attorney? Did Mr. Rice charge to write the resolution that the board presented on April 6th? Is that charge part of the $12,901.17 bill? And is that bill itemized? Or was Mr. Rice's creation of the resolution a favor granted to ensure payment of his bill? Quid pro quo. 4, much of this board's legal issues centered around Judge Marks' decision, and the trustees still seem unwilling to accept the judge's decision. Could the final judgment and order be made available and posted on the village website, perhaps with a link on Facebook to make residents aware? I think that might help to put us all on the same page. 5, in the December 2019 phone conversation I had with Trustee Girard, he tried to convince me that the mayor had too much control and that he needed to learn. As he put it, that wouldn't continue. I'm sorry to see that the trustees appear to be following through on that threat, and I wonder to what lengths they will go and at what cost, both monetarily and otherwise, before they finally stop and put the village's best interest before their own. Wow. 7, Ms. Maura Hertzman commented, while the world struggles through the current COVID-19 pandemic, it is unfathomable to me that we still have an ongoing issue regarding the failed attempt of the current Board of Trustees to usurp the authority of the mayor. Their illegal attempt to circumvent New York state law, which delineates the authority of the mayor and the Board of Trustees, and working outside their authority by negotiated a contract for village attorney. Your actions were found to be illegal by the Honorable Judge Marks of the Rockland County Supreme Court. While you refuse to acknowledge that ruling, the ruling still stands. As a matter of record and affirmation of the ruling, I request the judgment be read and provided on the village website. As a result of your arrogance, the taxpayers are left footing the bills for Keene and Bean and the attorney who represented you all personally. I do not acknowledge that the attorney, Terry Rice, was given authority to act as counsel to the trustees by proper resolution and vote of the board members. Your resolution at the reorganization meeting on December 2nd was to hire Mr. Rice as village attorney, not counsel to the Board of Trustees. Since you have now approved payment for Mr. Rice's legal fees, but continue to refuse to consider the legal fees of Keenan Bean, your actions will impact the current budget process and needs to be addressed. Many residents, myself included, have called for your resignation, and you have refused to consider that request. In addition, many residents have asked you to financially contribute to the cost of attorney fees by returning your stipend to the taxpayers of the Village of Suffern. Given the current state of our economy due to the COVID-19 crisis, and we know the upcoming year will be a difficult one for Suffern residents, I request the mayor make a formal motion for the Board of Trustees, members Barone, Corrigan, and Girard to return their stipend until such time the funds equal the cost of legal fees from all law firms involved in the litigation. Since I feel it will be safe to assume the trustees will refuse to pass the motion, you owe it to the residents to state your case for continuing to receive compensation from the taxpayers of our village. Please stop sitting silent. Lastly, I feel the trustees have an obligation to provide an explanation for their refusal to continue the service of Keenan Bean as both general and labor counsel. They have provided labor counsel to the village for about 20 years, and the quality of their work has never been suspect. As general counsel, they have provided competent legal advice without complaint from any trustee and provided their legal services at a cost savings to the village. Without any alternative found, I believe the board has both legal and ethical responsibility to carry over their appointment so that the village is no longer left at a disadvantage. I ask that the mayor request every member of the Board of Trustees to state their reasons for allowing this issue to continue month after month and not providing speedy resolution for the very important matters. Since the Keenan Bean contract is a known amount and there is no good cause to remove them, we have an obligation to keep future expenses to a minimum during this difficult time. There is no guarantee that can be given from any board member that future counsel will be more cost effective and we can no longer continue proper operations of the village service without adequate legal representation. Number 8, Mr. Roy Schutte commented, as per legal guidelines agreed by the judge in accordance with Suffern Mayor Ed Markunas, I fully support actions for the Board of Trustees to be held accountable for payment of fees and not the taxpaying citizens of Suffern. Mr. Eric Cudworth, due to the recent illegal actions taken by some of the Suffern Board of Trustees, I demand that the trustees, with the exception of Trustee Steve Alpert, forfeit their salaries to offset and or recoup the legal fees that the village has subsequently incurred due to their actions. It is also due to these actions that I feel Trustee Paul Girard should either resign on his own accord or be removed as a trustee by the Village of Suffern if possible. It is my feeling that Trustee Girard seems to have been one of the masterminds behind the attempt to circumvent the office of the mayor in order to illegally appoint Terry Rice as the village attorney. Although Trustee Charles Barone and Trustee Jo Meegan-Corrigan do share some of the blame, the majority of the blame seems to rest solely on the shoulders of Trustee Girard. His actions, past and present, seem reckless and questionable. Regarding Trustee Alpert, I understand and appreciate his neutrality during this matter. With that said, I would also like to request his resignation. His statement that he was Switzerland in this matter, his seeming indifference, and his overall combative nature baffle me. Ultimately, Trustee Alpert has demonstrated his inability and unwillingness to make a decision and, more importantly, accept the outcome of the ruling by Rockland County Supreme Court Judge Marks. It is due to these actions that I feel he is unfit to continue as a trustee and will ultimately be a detriment to the future growth of this village. As a taxpayer, I am extremely disappointed in each and every one of the 4 elected trustees and will not be voting for them in any re-election attempts. I do not fault Mayor Ed Markunas in any way for bringing a lawsuit against the board and feels his actions were in the best interest of the Village of Suffern. Furthermore, I find it ludicrous that Trustee Alpert would suggest that Mayor Markunas should pay for any legal fees, as it was ultimately the actions of the 3 trustees who disregarded the counsel of multiple lawyers and a legally appointed Terry Rice. They share the blame, and it is for those reasons I feel they should suffer the consequences and forfeit their salaries. 10, Stephen Lejoy. Trustees are chosen by the public to decide on policies that are in the best interest of the village resident. Accountability is one of the bedrocks of representative government, providing a check on decisions that betray public trust. Accountability is about a relationship between those responsible for something, those they represent, and how well that responsibility has been discharged. Sometimes this means that elected officials must take responsibility for major failures they were responsible for. Pursuing self-centered interest over the will of the people, on December 2nd, 2019, Mr. Girard acted illegally without any regard for the consequences of his actions, convincing 2 recently elected trustees to go along with his actions under the guise of allegiance. Mr. Girard's unending self-centered passion to promote hatred and revenge has been felt by everyone, from village employees to the taxpayer, who are left to pay the bill for the legal actions he initiated with 2 other board members. Malfeasance is an unlawful act of an elected official that affects the performance of official duties. Rockland County Supreme Court Judge Marks outlined malfeasance undertaken by the trustees on December 2nd. During the most recent village board meeting, the trustees involved seemed to want to rewrite the facts by not focusing on the actual wording in Judge Marks's ruling. Judge Marks specifically notes that, quote, that only the mayor has the authority to appoint the village attorney pursuant to New York village law. Judge Marks goes further, referring to the motion to appoint Mr. Rice as village attorney in the following manner, declaring that the December 2nd, 2019 motion violated New York village law. Now, in the midst of budget negotiations, the trustees responsible have shown no remorse. They failed once again to recognize that running the village competently isn't just the product of an efficient budgeting, it is the fruit of countless other decisions too. Rather than show accountability, the trustees responsible for imposing nearly $90,000 in legal fees on the village in defense of their illegal actions are now making budget cuts to the village's vital services to pay for their cost of their mistakes. Malfeasance in office is often grounds for a just cause removal of the elected official from office. In order to rectify this situation, trustees Girard, Corrigan, and Barone should donate their salaries to the village to pay for the result of their illegal actions. It would actually be most appropriate that along with reimbursing the village for these additional costs, they would resign as village trustees. The village could then have trustees that are honest and are respected by the residents they represent. Number 11, statement by Mr. Robert Morris. Due to the blatantly illegal actions of 3 present sitting trustees, I am at a loss to understand why the taxpayers of the Village of Suffern must be burdened paying the legal fees of the actions of the trustees. I assume they feel that they are indemnified for their actions. I do not agree. 2 of the trustees were not even seated when they participated in making any legal appointment of a village attorney. The 2 seated trustees needed to only speak with various agencies at the state level or to our own legal counsel. They would have been advised how incorrectness their actions was. I believe they should reimburse the village for expenses incurred by their actions. That was a mouthful. Do I have a motion to continue the public hearing open?
Motion.
Continue the public hearing on April 23rd.
All right. So do I have a motion to continue the public hearing on April 23rd, 2020 at 7:05?
Motion.
Excuse me,
Who is that? I'm
Mayor?
sorry. Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
this is Treasurer Michael Genito. I thought that we were going to be closing this public hearing tonight, but continued to receive any comments from the public through Friday, 4 p.m. That's Friday the 17th. There will still be deliberations on the budget and on the part of the board, and the board can make its final decisions on the 23rd, but I believe that the public hearing should be closed tonight and public comment continue to be taken in by email through Friday, this Friday, the April 17th.
Okay, so do I have a motion to close the public hearing tonight?
Motion, trustee Barone.
Motion, trustee Barone. Do I have a second?
Second, trustee Meagan-Corrigan.
Trustee Meagan-Corrigan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Motion passes. We will continue to accept public comment through Friday, Mike, do you have the date available? Is it?
Yes, that would be Friday, April 17th, close of business, Village Hall, 4 p.m. So we'll accept public
And
comment via email at budget@suffernny.gov through 4 p.m. this Friday, April 17th.
Okay. Okay, next I have a resolution authorizing payment of Keen and Bean invoices as village attorney. Stand by. Is this the first one?
Yeah, that's the first one. First is the village attorney.
Okay, I have the authorized payment of legal fees to Keen and Bean PC for legal services provided to the Village of Suffern as village attorney and labor counsel. Whereas by resolution dated February 1, 2019, the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern approved the retainer agreement with Keen and Bean dated February 1, 2019 for legal services to the village as village attorney from February 1, 2019 through December 31, 2019. The retainer agreement. And whereas Edward Markunas, Mayor of the Village, instituted litigation in his official capacity and on behalf of the village against Paul Girard, Charles Barone, Jo Meegan-Corrigan, and Terry Rice, Esquire, in Markunas versus Girard et al., index number 1570, slash 2019, challenging a motion adopted by the Board of Trustees on December 2nd, 2019, appointing Terry Rice, Esquire, as village attorney. The motion. And whereas in Markunas versus Girard et al., the mayor sought to invalidate the motion based upon the Board of Trustees' violation of New York Village Law 4400 1CI by usurping the mayor's authority to appoint the village attorney. And whereas the Supreme Court, Rockland County, issued a final judgment and order entered March 16, 2020, the order granting the relief requested by the mayor and invalidating the motion as unlawful. And whereas the order extended the retainer agreement through the entry of the order, March 16, 2020, and whereas the order further authorized the village treasurer to make payments to Keenan Bean for its legal services as village attorney through the entry of the order, March 16, 2020, subject to the approval of the Board of Trustees. And whereas, pursuant to the retainer agreement for legal services as village attorney, Keenan Bean has submitted legal bills covering the period of February 1, 2019 through March 16, 2020 to the village for payment totaling $16,880, which are due and owing. And whereas the Board of Trustees acknowledges that such sum is due and owing to Keenan Bean and desires to make payment of $16,880 to Keenan Bean, now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the payment of $16,880 to Keenan Bean for legal services as village attorney and labor counsel between December 1, 2019 and March 16, 2020. Be it further resolved that the village treasurer is hereby directed to make payment of $16,880 to Keenan Bean for legal services as village attorney and labor counsel between December 1, 2019 and March 16, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Trustee Alpert.
Trustee Alpert. Do I have a second?
Second, Trustee Barone.
Trustee Barone. Any discussion?
My discussion is to just make clear that we are paying $16,500 for the services that Keenan Bean provided to the village in all matters, excluding the village attorney lawsuit. That's correct?
That's correct. That's for village attorney and labor counsel.
Okay, I understand.
I believe it's $16,880.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Correct, $16,880. That was on the discussion. All in favor?
Hang on, Mayor, this is Trustee Girard. I just confirm, when did we get the invoice for the March services?
When did we receive the March invoice? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know the date.
I don't recall, because what was the date the services ended? Was it the 17th? What did you say it was? The 17th?
16th. That entered when the judgment was ordered on March 16th, 2020.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand. I don't remember seeing the bill, and I'm trying to understand when they would have sent it to us.
It was received by the treasurer's office.
Mr. Janito, do you have that invoice?
Mayor, I'm sorry, the invoice for Keenan Bean?
For Keenan Bean for the month of March.
I'll tell you what, I'll go offline a little bit and do some research, and I'll get back into the conversation in a little bit. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Because we got
Okay,
February, but we
thank
didn't
you.
see the last 16 days of March, I believe. I think that's what happened. So we have February because Lance got that to us as soon as possible, as he had promised. And then I don't think we saw anything from dated March 1st through the 16th.
All right, hold on 1 second. Stand by. All right, we're gonna have to wait for Mike to just see if he has the invoice. So what would you like to do? We had a first, we had a second, we have the discussion. Do you want to vote to hold off until we get back to Mike?
Well, I think we
No, I
all
don't think we
agreed
have
with
it.
February wholeheartedly.
Right. I don't think there's no issue with February if you want to approve February and just wait till we get a chance to review the March bill.
And then if we can get that, we can do it on the 23rd. That's next week, correct? Are my timelines
Right.
right? Okay. So
I
if
would
that's
suggest you do that
acceptable,
because,
I'm sorry,
Sorry, Mike?
someone chimed in.
no, this is Michael. I would say that, yeah, why don't you approve the February, and I'll have to locate the March Keenan Bean bill. If I did send it to the village clerk and received it, I'll locate it, and we can always do it next week on the 23rd.
So we'll
okay,
we'll
but
pay
we
through
should do February right away.
29th. Through
Yeah.
through February 29th, 2020.
Correct.
Okay, all in favor?
Well, what's the
Aye.
new adjusted total?
What?
So there's a
We
different
have to
total.
we would have to retrieve the invoice and then subtract it from the amount stated.
I understand.
So, Michael, if you don't mind, just throw that into a quick email when you cut the check and just let us know. That'd be great.
Okay, so let me understand it. You're going to pay both February and March?
No,
No,
just up
just
through
February.
February, excuse me. Through February 29th, Michael, and then when
Right.
you receive or find the invoice for March, the board would like to see the difference of the outstanding balance. So move forward with the payment through February 29th,
Mhm.
and then send the remaining balance and invoice to the board
Will
for
do.
review.
Will do.
Thank you. Is that,
And
is
then
that
we'll
okay,
do that
board?
on the.
Yes.
Yes, but we'll put that on for the 23rd, right, Ed?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
No nays. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next. I have a resolution authorizing payment of Keenan Bean invoices for legal representation in Edward Markunas in his capacity as mayor of the Village of Suffern against Paul Girard, Charles Barone, Jo Meegan-Corrigan, and Terry Rice. Judgment and order index number 1570-2019. Authorizing payment of legal fees to Keenan Bean for legal services provided to the Village of Suffern and the mayor in his official capacity and on behalf of village residents. In Markunas versus Girard et al., index number 1570/2019. Whereas Edward Markunas, mayor of the Village of Suffern, instituted litigation in his official capacity and on behalf of the village against Paul Girard, Charles Barone, Jo Meegan-Corrigan, and Terry Rice, Esquire. In Markunas versus Girard et al., index number 1570/2019, challenging a motion adopted by the Village Board of Trustees on December 2nd, 2019, appointing Terry Rice, Esquire, as village attorney. The motion. And whereas in Markunas versus Girard et al., the mayor sought to invalidate the motion based upon the Board of Trustees' violation of New York Village Law 4-400-1CI by usurping the mayor's authority to appoint the village attorney. And whereas in connection with Markunas versus Girard et al., the mayor signed a retainer agreement dated January 1, 2020 with Keenan Bean PC to prosecute the action of the village on the villages and on his behalf, the retainer agreement. And whereas the mayor had the authority to enter into such retainer agreement with Keenan Bean pursuant to Kahn versus Town of Huntington, 29 New York, 2nd Department, 454-55, 328, New York, 2nd, 672, 1972. And whereas pursuant to the retainer agreement and in prosecution of Markunas versus Girard et al., Keenan Bean PC has submitted legal bills to the village since January 2020 for payment in excess of $82,000, which are due and owing. And whereas, based upon negotiations between the mayor and Keenan Bean PC, Keenan Bean PC has agreed to reduce its fee and accept $75,000 in full satisfaction of its legal bills in Markunas versus Girard et al. And whereas the Supreme Court, Rockland County, issued a final judgment and order entered March 16, 2020, granting the relief requested by the mayor and invalidating the motion as unlawful. And whereas the Board of Trustees acknowledges that such sum is due and owing to Keenan Bean and desires to make payment of $75,000 to Keenan Bean PC. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the payment of $75,000 to Keenan Bean for the representation of the mayor in Markunas versus Girard et al., index number 157/2019, and be it further resolved that the village treasurer is hereby directed to make payment of $75,000 to Keenan Bean PC for the representation of the mayor in Markunas versus Girard et al., index number 1570/2019. So I have a motion.
I wanted to chime in. This is Trustee Alpert. That I spoke to Lance Klein right before tonight's meeting, and there's willingness. So I told the other trustees after that individually, and both sides are willing to settle this matter to everyone's satisfaction in a very short order. But this just changed. This just happened today, and we need a few days to can finish the negotiations with the other trustees so that everybody's on board and that we can close this matter for good.
Okay, so I'm putting forth the motion now to authorize the payment. Do I have a motion?
Well, what I'm saying is that while you don't right now have everybody in agreement of exactly the same amount, So I think we all just need to work it out and come to a common, agreeable number that everybody will be happy with. And I think we can do that in very short order. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it can happen tonight.
Okay. I did put forth the resolution, and I'm asking for a motion.
I'm not sure. In other words, if we're not, in other words, we're all on board.
I'm sorry. Just let me chime in here. I put forth the resolution. We can move forward with the resolution, and we can further on the discussion.
I think we all agree that we need to pay this bill. So I'm going to motion. I'm going to motion it. But I think it's not going to go forward tonight. That's my opinion. But I'll motion.
Trustee Alpert moves the motion. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Trustee Barone seconds it.
Trustee Barone seconds it. Okay. Now we can have the further discussion.
All right. So it's my understanding that Trustee Alpert has spoken with the law firm personally, and that there is some further movement that they're willing to move in their bill, is my understanding.
Right. I'm just not aware of that.
Will continue to negotiate with them.
Listen, I don't think that's in Trustees Alpert's. I think I need to have a discussion with him because I'm totally not clear on what transpired.
Basically.
Okay, well that's.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
No, you go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, so Steve called over to Lance Klein, and they had a conversation very late, right before the meeting. And from what I'm understanding, Lance is still willing to negotiate the bill down more. So therefore, that's, of course, at the best interest of the village. So that's what we would like to propose this evening, that there's more negotiations going on.
That's very interesting.
So I'm going to repeat again, since we're on the discussion, that I spoke to Lance Klein literally like 20 minutes before tonight's meeting. Personally, I'm in favor of just settling this issue as quick as possible and moving forward, because I think it's necessary to do that. Having said that, like I said, I polled the individual trustees, and I think everybody's at a different point, but I think we can all come together at a point that will be mutually acceptable for all parties, including Keenan Bean, including the Village of Suffern, including all four trustees. I think we're very close to the number. We just need, this has literally just happened today, so I need to work further with the other trustees on this negotiation. We're all committed to getting this resolved and done.
Okay, stand by.
Guess we got an answer. What are we standing by for?
So I think it stands as the $75,000. There is no continuing negotiation.
Well, I explained to Lance when I talked to him earlier that I believe some of the other trustees are at a different number, and he was okay with discussing this and coming to a resolution between the trustees so that everybody...
That was the resolution that I presented, was that I saved the village I negotiated it down $7,000, And
Mayor,
they are not going, they are, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I might be able to get a little bit more. We'll see.
I'm saying you won't, and that's, I would like to move forward with the vote. We had the first and the second, unless there's other further discussion, if anyone else would like to discuss it.
Yes, I think that we should go back and get the lower price that we can. Steve was told today that that was an option, and I think that we can take a week and get that option.
That wasn't an option that
Why
was
wouldn't
presented
you
to
want
me.
that option?
No, I'm saying
understand
that
that.
option, if the option was there, presented to me, I would take the option. The option was not
Okay.
presented to me. I am being informed now that the bottom line, there is no more room for negotiation. The bottom line is $75,000. If we do not, the action, they will proceed taking legal action against the Village of Suffern for payment. That's what I am advising the board right now.
So you
I'm
just text over to Lance to get a different conversation?
I don't know what conversations took place prior. I know in my discussions what I was told and the resolution that I presented. The resolution that I presented was moved. It was second. We're on discussion. We can continue to discuss it, but it's coming to a vote. If the vote goes in a negative way, I believe, I can't guarantee it, but I believe that a legal action will be commenced against the Village of Suffern by Keenan Bean for payment, which in turn will cost the village additional money.
Okay, well then,
Ed, you were
if
not
we're
part
not
of the
going to,
conversation that Steve just had with Lance Klein. So your information is not accurate, according to Steve, what Steve has relayed to us right before this meeting. You were not part of that conversation.
You cannot say, I'm sorry, Mr. Girard, but you cannot say that my information is inaccurate because I had discussion with the principal member that just confirmed that there is no further room for negotiation. I don't know what conversation took place. I understand, Steve, you're explaining it to me, but I was not part of that conversation either. I don't know if any of the other board members were.
No, I had a single conversation.
Okay.
So why don't we?
All right,
So why don't we do this? So Ed, why don't you call Lance Klein either this evening or tomorrow and find out what his thought process is?
He just
And
confirmed
that
it
way
with me
we
on the
can
phone.
all-
It's confirmed, Ms. Corrigan. I just confirmed it. I don't want to see this village being brought to another lawsuit. Just, you have
Ed, we
to.
don't-
Okay, well then, it is, so neither do we, okay? So neither do we, and we would like to get this resolved. So we were given different information according to what Lance Klein had a conversation with Steve Alpert. So if that's now taken off the table, which only happened prior to the meeting, then I guess we're going to need to think about going to fee arbitration.
Well, I would
Because
like,
we thought that
I
we
would
had to
like
work.
to have Steve have time to work out and to talk to Keenan Bean himself.
Yeah,
I agree.
look, we have a miscommunication here. Steve had one conversation. Ed, you had a different one. And so let's allow Steve to go back and clear up the miscommunication, and we'll work from there.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Okay, I'm telling you, all I'm telling you is that I confirmed that there is no more room for negotiation.
At what time was
And
that,
that,
Mayor? What time was that?
that was earlier today. That was this evening. It was just now. It
When
is
you said
what it
just
is.
now, when you're saying just now, when did you speak to Keenan Bean?
Just confirmed it by text. I just confirmed it. That's what I'm telling you guys. I'm just confirming it.
You're not
Yeah,
even
I
sharing
have
us what you said to him.
You you have to stop what you're doing. You have to pay the outstanding invoices. Guys, you're going down the wrong road. Once again,
Well,
I don't understand it. I just don't understand what you're doing. I'm sorry. We have a motion. We'll take the vote. You have to take a vote. It's out there. Trustee Girard.
We're going to follow Keenan Bean.
So is that a no on the resolution?
We would like to table it for a few days.
The resolution was moved and seconded. You have to vote on it. I'm not allowing this village to be led down the wrong path. I am not going to be part of it.
you started.
Hey,
Take
trustee,
the vote.
what if I brought Lance Klein into this conversation?
I don't know. Hold on, let me think about
Why don't you
that.
text him and ask him? Well, you're just going to text him, so you just said that you were texting
Just
back and
say
forth
when you're
with
going to
him.
text them. Just say you're going to text them.
I want you to vote. There's going to be legal fees involved. All I'm telling you right now is there's going to be legal fees involved.
Okay, well, here's what. Okay, so it is incumbent upon Keenan Bean, once they knew on March 9th that we were challenging the bill
sorry, what was
and
that?
the fees.
I'm sorry, can you
What
repeat
part
that?
did- I said it is incumbent upon Keenan Bean, when they found out that we were going to ask questions about the bills, that they should have offered fee arbitration.
It's in the contract. It's in the retainer agreement upon request.
Okay, so
And it's in the, and
We
then
are
the judge's
requesting-
order. Well, you were given, okay, let's take the vote. So if you're going to request arbitration, we
We're
have
not
to vote on
requesting
the
arbitration. We're
We're
following
not?
up with Keenan Bean to continue to negotiate. That's
Trustee
what we're doing.
Corrigan just said she's requesting arbitration.
well, because you're pushing a hard line I'm putting words in Steve's mouth, that there was a conversation. So I think Steve should have the opportunity to find out what just happened with that conversation that he had earlier.
That's fine. I'm the mayor of the village. It was indicated to me
Yes,
that there
we
is
know
no more.
it's clear.
I'm sorry, but I'm speaking. There is no more room for negotiation. The bottom line is $75,000. If you want to pursue arbitration, as you indicated, that's fine. I'm asking you to vote on the resolution that was moved. And the treasurer, according to the order, the treasurer is authorized to make payment for legal services. It's in the order. That's the other issue. We have it in the order from the Rockland County Supreme Court.
Well, then
That's
I
a
guess
payment.
So Steve, did Lance Klein, Keenan Bean say anything anything other than they are willing to negotiate a little bit further? Like they wanted to work for the village board and, get this all resolved amicably? Is that part of the conversation?
Steve, you still here?
Steve? Well, let's see if he calls back in.
Steve, you on mute?
I think Steve is he trying to call Keenan Bean?
Rob Magrino, were you still on the phone?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Because I know you have a conflict with this subject. However, is there a way to have a resolution on the table and have further discussion and find that the resolution is not the best course of action after discussion. Can you put a resolution off for a week after it's been motioned once and motioned twice?
I appreciate you couching it in terms of a general question, but since I've been listening to this whole thing, Keenan Bean represents me in a matter, so I really can't.
Hi, this is Trustee
Okay,
Alpert.
fair
I'm
enough.
back. I'm back. I'm sorry I lost you. I tried to conference in Mr. Klein. He is fine with us taking a few days and making a vote on this next week. So I think we can hammer this out and be done over the next few days.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. I'm sorry that I fell off the line. I tried to conference him, but instead I ended up dropping this call, so I missed some of this.
Okay, so
You didn't miss much.
we'll
All right, so we're just going to table this discussion.
resolution, we'll just motion this resolution to table it until next, what is the next meeting date? For 4/23,
April 23rd.
for April 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Okay, next. Do I have a motion to close tonight's meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Trustee Corrigan? Do I have a
Second
second?
by Alpert.
I have two,
Second.
Trustee Alpert, any discussion?
I
All
still
in
had a
favor?
few, I still had a few items I wanted to address tonight. Just follow up to some of the things that were brought up.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I requested the JCO invoice. I know that Ms. Paffenroth provided that. Sorry, I don't know why it wasn't in my inbox, but I did see that you sent it. But I noticed that the copy was cut off. It didn't have an end date to the contract, and it didn't have the signature lines to the contract. So can I ask for that to be sent in full to the entire board with, the entire contract?
Sure. JCO, right, that wasn't, okay. Okay,
All right, second item, I just wanted to respond to the comment by the resident, apologize if I mispronounce her name, Ms. Cipherblatt, on the FOIL. The documents that she is referencing in the FOIL request are already in the hands of the village clerk. I am not responsible for personally delivering everything that the village clerk already has in her possession. So those should have been handed over to the resident. I responded to anything additional, which I did not have, and I do not have. So please furnish the resident with all the other, so the contract that was.
Paul. She's received
I'm
those
sorry?
documents. She's received all the documents. She was commenting on any additional documents you may have.
Okay, she referenced.
she just wanted, she was referencing, hold on, Paul, let me see. Transaction regarding the village attorney when required about the status, indicated I suspect that you may have overlooked the fact for a request any and all documents rather than the select few inconsequential items. So the village clerk did furnish Ms. Zimbablat with the documents that were provided to the clerk's office. I believe the request is for any additional documents, phone calls, or emails that you may or may not possess.
Yeah, well, okay. I thought in her follow-up she referenced something dated December 2nd, etc. And again, whatever we had on December 2nd was furnished at that December 2nd meeting. So if she's already received that, I'm not sure what else she's requesting or what she feels she does not have.
Yet at the very least, Mr. Rice's 12/2/19 letter to the board reads, "This will confirm our agreement concerning the terms."
Right, and then he
Okay.
provided a contract, drafted a contract. That's what I believe, that's what I interpret that as being referenced.
Emails,
right.
conversations.
And so I'm just trying to look at turned over materials for the village. I don't have the foil in front of me, but I believe it's emails, phone calls, whatever other I get. If you're indicating that you have no further any phone conversations or email exchanges.
No, I
No.
don't. I mean, that was what my response was, is that it was all discussions, and I don't have any documents. That was my original response. Any documents that there were already in the hands of Amy. If Amy's already furnished those, I would think that she has everything.
Okay. What else?
All right. And then the last item I just wanted to confirm, when we were talking about the budget, we were talking about, we said there was this village superintendent of public works has a longevity increase, village clerk has a step increase. I wanted to confirm, this again, just clarifying what that, I think it was Ms. Listwan who was asking about these, that these increases are contractual or non-contractual?
Contractual.
They're contractual via in the work rules of the Village of Suffern, and in the employment agreements with the village.
Okay, so we're contractually obligated or not contractually obligated?
I believe we're contractually obligated by the work rules of the village, that everyone receives the defined benefits that are in the work rules and in the contractual agreement with the employee. Similar to the CSEA, although they are collectively bargaining, the CSEA and the PBA and the Teamsters are collectively bargaining.
Okay, you said you believe. How can we confirm that? I just want to make sure the resident has the accurate response.
In the work rules, we have a copy of the work rules, which outline in detail the benefits provided to the employee. Joe, you're aware of the work rules, is that correct?
Yes, it's been a while. Yes, but isn't it picked who gets the step? I have to be very refreshed on
yeah.
that.
No, it's all defined in the work rules. I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's defined in the work rules. It's defined in the employee contract that the benefits provided by the work rules and the employees are entitled to them. So there's two. There's one, right? And the Board of Trustees resolved it many years ago, and the increases are incremental every year depending on the length of service of the particular employee. Mm-hmm. And every year, different employees either get a step or a longevity as provided for in the work rules. That's Mike, Mr. Janito.
So may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can you send those work rules out, and maybe that will resolve this issue and everyone can understand it wholeheartedly?
Sure. That might
just be the easiest way to, for under how it's written for step and also for longevity. That might be the easiest way to do that.
Okay, that's good. I know it was defined in an email from the treasurer previously to the board. Mr. Janito, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
it
I
was.
described it to the board. I think the best thing to do is just share the work rules with the board.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. We will do that. The JCO contract. What else do you have, Mr. Girard?
I have a question. I have a question once he's done too.
Paul, are you good?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm good. Those were the three items I had. Thank you.
Okay. So I had a question.
Steve?
I know last week when we had our meeting, there was a resolution that you put on the agenda that you or legal team wrote as far as hiring a labor attorney, but for reasons unknown, you had me read it last week, so I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the resolution in front of me. I hadn't pre-printed it, so I was a little bobbly, and then you voted no. So I wasn't sure whether this is all resolved and whether we have a labor attorney at this point on contract. I was hoping you could clarify that.
Mr. Mr. Magrino, I'm sorry. You have that. You have that resolution, Mr. Magrino, the labor contract for Glickle?
I reviewed the retainer agreement. In looking at it, it was in accordance with my understanding of what the resolution was that that was passed. Amy had sent me a resolution from last week. I don't think it was the actual resolution though, and I was going to speak with her. I think it was a previous resolution. So I'm just the short answer is and I think we discussed this. The retainer agreement is in accordance with my understanding of the resolution that was passed. I just wanted to see a written copy of the resolution to make sure the terms, because I think it was 10,000. That was the resolution, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, I used wording from the revised retainer agreement, the new resolution.
All right. Is there a way maybe we can, I guess, get it? I don't know if it's too onerous, but listen to a recording of what the actual resolution was, just because I thought the resolution said $10,000. I'm sorry, the retainer agreement said $10,000. It's over a 2-month period.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
5 and 5.
Right. Okay. So Amy and I will discuss the resolution. The resolution that was presented to me, I don't think said that.
Right, and
Yeah,
also whatever I read last week
Okay.
is not necessarily accurate as well. So I'm not sure if we want to reread it or anything like that.
Right.
So
I did
Rob,
say.
what I
Go ahead,
took
Amy.
the retainer agreement and took the wording from the retainer agreement to clarify the resolution.
I'll compare them, and I'll take a look, and I'll shoot an email around tomorrow.
That sounds good.
So what can we do this evening?
So we should decide that we're going to hire labor counsel. We need it for the village, correct?
Well, we did that already. We just need the authorization agreement, and the retainer agreement needs to mimic the resolution. I spoke to Mr. Glickle already. When did I speak to him? On Monday. Yesterday I spoke to him. Just to clarify all of the documents, and he was happy with it. We just need the resolution to be reviewed and make sure that it comports with the retainer.
It should.
And the motion that was made last week. That was my concern. I just want to make sure it's consistent with the motion last week.
And my concern was that I didn't read the actual. I currently have the resolution from last week in front of me, but last week I had not printed it, so I was literally reading just from the agenda. I read what was in the agenda, which was only a portion of the actual resolution. So I wasn't sure if that was legal, and I wasn't sure if we needed to reread it. That's all.
No, it doesn't need to be reread, but if you could maybe send me myself and Amy a copy of that, and then we'll discuss it tomorrow to make sure we have the right.
The mayor or the mayor or Amy or somebody, not me, prepared it. It was in the email packet we received for last week's meeting. I can certainly forward you that packet. It was
No,
the
I have
last
that.
agenda.
I thought you changed the motion during the meeting, though.
Yeah.
Changed the wording of the resolution.
The only thing, no, I made it up as I went along, only because I never printed it, because normally I don't read the resolution. So I figured I'm not going to print it, So I had my agenda. So I kind of did as best as I could with what I had in front of me for this meeting last week. But I was just concerned because, as you point out, it did not match the way the the way the resolution was written verbatim. It was just an approximation thereof.
Right, but it's easily
All right.
resolved, and we have legal counsel.
The retainer
Yes,
agreement.
Mr. Glickle indicated that for me to feel free to call him as we work through this and have this resolution comport with the retainer.
Okay.
So if the board's
okay,
okay with that, we'll also, we'll just resolve that on the 23rd. But we can use Mr. Glickle.
Great.
Does that sound right, Rob?
Thank you.
Correct. As far as I'm concerned, the retainer agreement is acceptable. The only thing I wanted to confirm was to make sure it was in complete agreement with the amended resolution from last week. So I think we'll be able to clarify that tomorrow.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Perfecto. All right. Anybody else? All good. So we had the motion to close. We had a second. We were on the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Close.
Aye.
Okay, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep safe. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Bye.